what a lovely surprise. The year 2024, and it turns out that great big V12 engines are not yet dead. And neither, even more amazingly, are manual gearboxes.
Oh, and we'll get back to that stick shift Porsche in a moment. But first,
welcome to the Valor. Aston Martin's got analog.
but to understand why, you need to rewind past the Valor and reacquaint yourself with this, the Aston Martin Victor. Back in 2021, Aston Martin revealed the side hustle it had been busy with during lockdown, a retro rebody of the stunning 177 supercar, reimagined as an outrageous modern take on the old late 70s Vantage. It looked stunning. Thanks to an upgraded Cosworth V12 tuned from 750 to 836 brake horsepower, it also went like lightning and sounded better than thunder. But the Belgian owner of this one-off, who paid around £4 million for the honour of owning a unique Super Aston, tastefully decided to bin the 177's laggy paddle shift transmission and have their dream Aston equipped with a clutch pedal and a manual gearbox. Good call.
You might have been onto something, you know. Now, the Victor could have been the moment that Aston Martin sent V12 engines and manual gearboxes off into the sunset on an all-time high. But quite a lot of people obviously saw that car and understandably thought, yes, I would like one of those, please. What do you tell the other credit card waving collectors who are banging on the factory door?
Aston's solution has been to take the bones of a V12 Vantage and drape a Victor-inspired carbon fibre body over the top. There's no special 177 engine this time though, rather the Vantage's twin-turbo 5.2 litre V12 that we've also seen in the old DB11 and the DBS, here making 705 brake horsepower. Still, it's the only time this motor has ever been connected to a manual gearbox, and would you just look at it?
Seriously, just look at it. It's a thing of beauty in its own right. It's a sculpture. It's a shrine to shifting.
The Valor is a limited edition that you can't just walk into a dealership and buy. All 110 examples have long since sold out, and you have to hope that the people who are spending just over £1 million to get one will do this: get out into the hills and drive it. Not just stand around and admire it. But I will admit, the details are gorgeous, so here's a quick tour around the car from when we picked it up from just outside the Formula One team's headquarters at Silverstone.
Now, how refreshing is it to not be next to a numbers car? We don't care about downforce here, we don't give a monkeys about lap times. People who are going to drop £1 million on 100 off limited edition, they're like details, things you can point out to your mates, like bits of your car you can put your whole hand through. Look at this channel they've kind of incorporated into this monster bonnet, which is hinting it's got this huge V12 under it, the great big extractor vent on the top. And the spec on this one, it's like something that David Attenborough would warn you about in the rainforest, isn't it? Watch out for, I'm not going to do the voice, watch out for the green ridgeback, red-lipped man-eater. Just looks absolutely lethal. Wheels inspired by the Valkyrie, not like by anyone who's ever had to clean an alloy wheel, but yeah, Spider-Man spec rims. Love those. You've got this huge extractor vent here trying to get heat out of the engine bay, so it's all functional, beautiful carbon fibre work here. And normally I don't really like a limited edition badge on the side of a car. It's like wearing, you know, branded gear saying what you're driving. But if your company's 110 years old and only had 7 bankruptcies, and if you've done 110 units, then you probably want to celebrate it. So I think we like the Union Jack there. It's got this nice blend, doesn't it, the Valor, of sort of the Aston Martin curvaceousness of old, but then like the square-sided muscles of new. So this is where you see the V12 Vantage silhouette in the top, but then all this new carbon fibre bodywork down here, the brutal side skirts. You've got to be really careful when you jump out that you don't trip over those. And then this massive rear haunch, got so much attitude. But if you want, I don't know, even more extroverted design than the front, you've got to come and take a look at the back. Clearly you'll have noticed up here, there is no back window. You might have thought, you know, if you weren't that clued up on where Aston Martin are putting their engine in this thing, that the V12's under the back because it kind of looks like it's vented, but it's not. These are just fins. There's no claim about how much downforce that's generating. It's just somewhere to put the rear view camera, which works quite well actually. It just projects onto a screen where the normal mirror would be inside. That's quite practical. And so, he says, getting the key out, is the luggage space. Look at this. What other £1 million hypercar has got enough space for weekend away, extra luggage shelf at the back there, and how very British. Somewhere to keep your Aston Martin designer umbrella. And I love, I don't know if you can see in here, but they've even matched the carbon fibre weave on the inside of the boot lid. And also some classic British understatement. No fake exhaust pipes, no tank artillery pieces with all rifling in them, just 3 very sharp looking lightweight exhaust. The exhaust on this is 7 kilos lighter than a V12 Vantage, but they haven't decided to make them trumpet out of the top like this. They've just tucked them away because, well, it's very Aston Martin, isn't it? Bit of understatement, bit of class. It's a stunning looking bit of kit. Now this is fun. When you unlatch this mighty carbon fibre bonnet, watch how the car goes from frowning to actually looking kind of startled and surprised. The eyes look that much wider. Why would it be shocked? Because it's being pushed along by this 705 brake horsepower tune of the twin turbo 5.2 litre V12 with 511 pounds-feet of torque. Obviously I'm going to show you inside, but there's 2 things to be aware of when you get into your Valor. Number 1, oh, got to be very, very careful not to land your unmentionables on the old carbon fibre seat bolster because it could get very painful. And speaking of carbon, the door was made out of it entirely, and that means you'd be very lucky to get it shut first time because it's just so lightweight. And it's on one of these struts as well. It gives you that lovely swan motion when it opens up. That's got it. Look at this for a centerpiece. Lovely metal milled top to the gear knob, this unpolished beechwood gear lever, and then you can see the fully exposed linkage. It's just lovely. Excuse me, I'm just gonna have a moment. I just want to point out, we're not on Silverstone anymore, and we're not on a private closed road. No, this is Wales. It's a public road, it's June, so yeah, as usual. And there's other motorists, there's cyclists, there's sheep. And Aston Martin chucked us the keys to a £1 million special and said, yeah, fill your boots. Respect. We like that. And that cues up nicely the part of the film where I turn to you and I say, but they needn't have worried because, oh, it's a pussycat. It's so friendly, the Valor, but don't mind telling you, a little bit intimidated, actually. I think part of it comes from the fact that just with no back window, it's darker in here, and these solid carbon door tops, they're high and you feel hemmed into the car. It feels like you're, I don't know, a child in a grown-up's world. I'm kind of peering over the top of it, and it feels big and wide on the road. You'll hear the tyres over there occasionally slapping the cat's eyes. So yeah, it's got the intimidation factor of a supercar. Aston wanted this to feel a bit more gritty and granular than a V12 Vantage, on which it's obviously based. So they've retuned the steering map. It's got different damper settings front and rear. It's got stiffening panels front and rear, and they've changed the caster, the camber, all the geometry's different. It's all very geeky tweaks, but they didn't have to do that. They could have just dropped this exotic body onto a normal Vantage and left it alone. Said, there you go, collectors, you'll never know the difference because you're never going to drive it. But they didn't. They went to the effort. I respect that as well. And here's the thing, actually. Even when you don't want to get all nerdy and geeky about the retuned suspension and steering, a manual gearbox is something you can enjoy at any speed, and so is this engine. It's not an operatic V12 like a Ferrari 12-cylinder 12 cilindri, but it's got this rich, expensive, barrel-chested note to it. And I'm only doing 3,400 RPM right now, and it still sounds fabulous. Only pity, I suppose, is, well, look at the cars it's appearing in. The Gordon Murray T.50, the Pagani Utopia, and now the Aston Martin Valour. What a shame that to get your ultimate manual kicks, you kind of got to pay £1 million for it.
Au contraire, mon frère, because this is the new Porsche 911 ST, and it costs from around £230,000. And depending on which way you look at it, it's either a GT3 RS with the wing removed and a 6-speed manual gearbox added, or a GT3 Touring with the aggression turned up to 11. Either way, it's pretty much analog perfection. Andreas Preuninger, the boss of Porsche's GT department, the man responsible for all those incredible Porsche GT cars over the last, 23 years, says that this is his favourite. It's his perfect combination of components, the perfect blend of technology and raw driver appeal. And do you know what? I think he might be onto something. Okay, so I have a 9,000 RPM, 518 brake horsepower, 4-litre flat 6 engine. If I time my shifts to perfection, this will do 0 to 62 in 3.7 seconds. But the beauty of this car is in the details. It weighs 1,380 kilograms, which is about 40 kilograms less than the GT3 Touring. The clutch in this thing weighs exactly half that of the one you get in the GT3 Touring. It's got a lighter flywheel too, so you get a revier character to the engine. And this gearbox, this 6-speed manual gearbox, it's got a shorter throw. It's also got an 8% shorter final drive ratio, which, yeah, makes it feel livelier in the gears, but it also means you've got to work this gearbox to get the most out of it. And honestly, that's not a problem at all when the shift, is as sweet as this one. Now, I know I've just spent a while describing to you all the numbers and facts and figures about this car, but the best way to describe the experience of it is I couldn't give a fig about the numbers right now. Yes, there are supercars out there with a lot more horsepower than that. There are family saloons out there with a lot more horsepower than this thing, but it doesn't matter. It feels like just the right amount, and I'm consumed by nailing my gear shifts and enjoying the steering feel. And it's this kind of stuff that Porsche does head and shoulders better than anyone else. It sweats the details. It knows that the stuff that matters is what you're feeling through your bum and through your hands and through your feet, the gear shift, the steering, the pedals, the quality of these seats, and of course, the noise that engine makes as you close in on that 9,000 RPM crescendo. Woohoo! Oh, it's astonishing! This gear shift, the precision. You can do it all in your wrist. Bam, bam. 5th to 4th. And look, there's Ollie in his fancy pants Aston with several hundred horsepower more. Let's see if we can keep up, shall we? Go on then, give me some of that sweet V12 music. I've only got 6 cylinders to work with here.
Okay, hang on, get a load of this.
After many miles and several thousand gear shifts, the weather finally brightened up, so we pulled over for a chat.
Significantly more fun in the dry, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm glad the sun came out. I feel like I've now felt all 705 horsepower, which I wasn't when we were talking to the camera earlier.
Yeah, and my Cup 2s are finally switched on, as they say in the racing community.
Oh dear, you've become one of those Porsche guys, haven't you?
A little bit, yeah. So I feel like there's an elephant in the room we need to talk about. This car, underneath, it is an admittedly lightly modified V12 Vantage, no?
Pretty much, yeah, with a manual gearbox.
Yeah, with a manual gearbox, of course. So they cost, how much for a V12 Vantage?
200 and something.
Yeah, and this costs?
£1 million plus, they say. So for this kind of paint, probably 1.5.
Help me understand. Help us all understand this.
I mean, you can't rationalise cars like this, can you? It's modern day coach building, like Ferrari, like Bentley. Everyone's taking their standard supercars and dropping gorgeous retro bodies onto them and going, here you go, here's something special that no one else has got.
It is gorgeous, I'll give you that. I spent most of the day staring at the back end of it when I'm a little bit in love with it. It's about exclusivity, isn't it? It's like you're buying a £1 million ticket to this club of 100 or so owners so you can, you know, wave it around under people's noses.
Yeah, say, you haven't got one of these and I have.
Yeah, although didn't I read that there's an even more exclusive version of this exclusive coach built thing, special edition 100?
Yeah, so there's a special edition of the special edition of the Valor called the Valiant, which is kind of like the GT3 RS version. It's lighter, it's got more wing. It was spec'd by Fernando Alonso, apparently.
Sounds better.
Yeah, so it's the one to have. You don't want this, no.
And how much is that one, the Valiant?
Oh, the Valiant.
Yeah.
They're going to run out of names beginning with V, aren't they? Oh, I don't know. What should we say? 2 million?
Yeah, 2 million quid. It's absolutely bonkers. The world has gone mad. As you say, we cannot rationalise it. But look, they're two incredibly special cars. I just think it's great that there's manufacturers out there that are getting it now, that we don't need just big dollops of unusable extra power. We need interactivity, we need
old schoolness,
analogness.
Yeah, just retro flavour.
Yeah, old-fashioned, like your tweed seats, mate.
Oh, yeah. Now, they've really grown on me today, actually. So I've decided I'm going to become a bit of a tweed guy. So I popped into town while it was raining, and I want to get your opinion on this. Now, the lady in the shop did say it wouldn't entirely match the Aston Martin interior, but I think this is a pretty good look. And I knew you'd be jealous because you don't match your car now. So here you go. Now you can be a Porsche GT3
now
guy.
I can be as sad as you are, mate. It's a lovely jacket. It's too much with the tweed seats, but this isn't going to work for me.
Why
I'm
not?
sorry.
I just bought you that.
It's a horrible hat, but that's not the point. The point is I'm gagging for a go in that car. So I'm going to give you this back. You've got to give me your jacket. Come on.
You want to match?
If you want to do the tweed thing, give me your jacket.
Right, you have that. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to go and enjoy 9,000 RPM. Watch out for the turbo lag.
Right. Tally-ho.